Hello everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So today's topic we are going to start is with temperature. So in the coming videos we are also going to understand between the difference between the temperature and heat. However, we'll be focusing on temperature in this particular video. So what's the target of this video is we should know and define what temperature is. We should be knowing the definition of temperature. We should be knowing the units of temperature. We should also be knowing how to convert between two systems of units, and what are the scales or what are the units, basically scales or units of temperature is. So let's get started. The definition of temperature is very simple. Temperature is the measure of hotness or coolness of a body. So suppose if I gave you a hot cup of tea and ice cold bottle, then if you touch the cup you will experience that it is warmer, and when you touch the bottle you will find out it appears to be colder. Now how cold the bottle is or how hot the cup is, this can be recognized by a quantity called as temperature. So if the temperature is 0 degrees Celsius or lower, then it senses us to be as colder. So anything below 37 degrees Celsius, which is our body temperature, we generally say that it is colder, and anything above our body temperature, that is 37 degrees Celsius, is something we call as hot. So temperature is basically this: how hot or how cold the body is called as temperature. Now the study of measuring temperature is called as thermometry. So thermometry is the study of measuring temperature, and the device which measures is called as thermometer. Now thermometer is a device which can measure temperature. However, there are different types of thermometers available in the market. Like you can have, so I have just mentioned about thermometry. I have mentioned about a device called as thermometer which measures temperature. Normally three kind of thermometer is easily available at any place in the world. That's a mercury thermometer, alcohol thermometer, and an electronic thermometer. These are the three thermometers which we can find out very easily in our local stores. However, this should not be considered as the classification of thermometers, because there are different kinds of classification of thermometers which we are not discussing at this juncture. Anyway, so temperature can be measured in three different kinds of units, and or rather you can say scales of temperature. The first system or the first scale in which we measure temperature is called as the Celsius scale. The second is called as the Fahrenheit scale, and the third is called as the Kelvin scale. Again, there are other systems as well, but we are using these three types of scales. So 37 degrees Celsius is the human body temperature, and that we generally use in Celsius scale. And normal human body temperature is 99 degrees Fahrenheit in Fahrenheit scale. And yes, we can always convert those temperatures to Kelvin scale. Now the most important aspect is, okay, we should be able to convert between these three systems of units interchangeably. Kelvin scale is also called as absolute scale, and when you attain 0 Kelvin, it is also called as absolute zero. So absolute zero is called as when the temperature goes to 0 Kelvin. However, make sure that you know this fact that 0 Kelvin is never attainable. So you won't be able to attain 0 Kelvin. At 0 Kelvin, the atomic vibrations are going to go to 0, which is not possible. You can go very close to 0 Kelvin, we can go to 0.001 Kelvin and lower, but we can never attain 0 Kelvin. Then what we supposed to learn is a reference standard for Celsius scale. Like how does the Celsius scale come into existence? So Celsius is basically a reference standard. Every unit is called as a reference standard. So in order to define what Celsius scale is, we use water, which is pretty abundant and easily available in most part of the world, and the boiling point of water, we call it as 100 degrees Celsius. So whenever the water boils, we refer that as 100 degrees Celsius, and whenever the water freezes, we always call that as 0 degrees Celsius. So, and between them we can just divide it into 99 lines or maybe 100 equal sections, and we just say that okay, now my thermometer is ready. So this becomes our thermometer. So this becomes 100 degrees Celsius and this goes to 0 degrees Celsius. So the dividing point or the Celsius scale is basically based on water's freezing and boiling point. Now the entire story is basically applicable only when the atmospheric pressure is 1. And if the pressure is different, then you might be studying that in the previous grades, or maybe you'll be studying in this particular chapter as well, that the boiling point and the freezing point will change if the atmospheric pressure is different. So whenever we say that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius or freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius, we should always mention that it is at 1 atmospheric pressure. Anyway, more on this thing in coming lectures when we start with pressure, volume, temperature and all those stuffs. As of now, we are supposed to learn how to convert between two different system of units. So conversion between two different system of units, in order to convert degree Celsius to Fahrenheit, there is a specific formula. Again, we are not going into the technicalities of how that formula originates. Maybe in a few of the lectures, in the following lectures, we may discuss those things. However, here we are going to understand how to convert it. So let's say the temperature in degree Celsius minus the freezing point of that in Celsius scale for water, it's 0 degrees Celsius, divided by the boiling point, which is 100 degrees Celsius, minus the freezing point, that is 0 degrees Celsius. Now this is the way how we learn. Like we always call it as temperature in Celsius minus freezing point upon boiling point minus freezing point. That would be equal to temperature in degree Fahrenheit minus freezing point. Now freezing point in Fahrenheit scale is 32 degree Fahrenheit, divided by boiling point. Now boiling point in Fahrenheit scale is 212 minus freezing point is 32. So you see here you need to remember these two values. 32 degree Fahrenheit is the freezing point and 212 is the boiling point. This is the freezing point. All of this is done on water. Then comes Kelvin scale. So temperature in Kelvin minus freezing point is 273.15 upon boiling point is 373.15 minus 273.15, that is the freezing point. The benefit of this equation is that even if tomorrow, let's say in coming years, we have some other scale, let's say Tx, then you can just do freezing point upon boiling point minus freezing point and you are through. You can convert any temperature from this new system to any old system. Now I just want to make a small example over here. Let's say suppose if I gave you a temperature of 27 degrees Celsius and I want this temperature into Kelvin. So what I am supposed to do is I'll be using these two equations. that is from Celsius scale to Kelvin scale. So if I see here, temperature in Celsius minus 0 will give me temperature in Celsius. So this would look like this: temperature in Celsius upon 100 minus 0 will give me 100. So that is 100. Then I'm using this one, temperature in Kelvin minus 273.15. So that is temperature in Kelvin minus 273. Now if you note that I have ignored this 0.15, and for the easiness of calculation, or for the parts of the world where we do not use calculators, or calculators are not allowed, we can just ignore that 0.15 divided by, again, this is 373 minus 273, that comes out to be 100. So I have this 100. Now I can strike this off, and what I remain is temperature in Celsius is 27 degrees Celsius. Temperature in Kelvin is something I need to get, minus 273. So temperature in Kelvin is equal to 27 plus 273. This will fetch me temperature in Kelvin as 300 Kelvin. So this comes out to be 300 Kelvin. Now the reason I took this example is, okay, let's say we have temperature in degree Celsius and temperature in Kelvin. So note here that, okay, if the temperature in Celsius was 27 degrees Celsius, the temperature in Kelvin came out to be as 300 Kelvin. Now had this temperature been 28 degrees Celsius, this temperature in Kelvin would have come out to be as 301 Kelvin. Like, you can do that math again. For this one, you can do the same math again like what I did for here. So you can just take 28 here, so this will become 28, and when you add this up, you'll get 301. Now the point here to note is the change in temperature. The change in temperature in degree Celsius is 1 degree Celsius, and the change in temperature in Kelvin is also 1 Kelvin. So I'm not saying that, okay, temperature in Celsius and temperature in Kelvin is equal. No, they are not. But change in temperature in Celsius and change in temperature in Kelvin, they both would be same. So this is all about temperature, which we'll be needing in coming sessions, and hope you guys have taken notes of all those topics which we have discussed here. In case if you haven't, just pause the video and you can just copy it and make your personal notes, of which make sure that you should be able to play with this equation. In case if some temperature is given in some other forms, then you should be able to convert that. So I hope you guys have understood this part. In case if you are enjoying this lecture series, then please subscribe to this channel and motivate me in order to continue with this lectures. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.